With the action in Dexter Resurrection starting off in full force, there are sure to be smaller details that are overlooked. True fans may have noticed a few of these callbacks, coincidences, and commemorations, but not all of the Easter eggs are so obvious. Let's take a look at some of the Easter eggs that have already popped up in the first few episodes, starting with the return of Arthur Mitchell, the infamous Trinity Killer. As season 3 of the original series came to a close, Dexter is marrying his longtime girlfriend, Rita. As the last episode ends, Dexter broke his hand while fighting the Skinner and is forced to attend his wedding with a cast on his arm. Rita, as oblivious as ever, is completely understanding and accepts his lame excuse for shattering the bones in his hand. Dexter and Rita share a dance during the reception, surrounded by loved ones, and before the credits roll, a single drop of blood drops from Dexter's cast onto the back of Rita's dress, but no one seems to notice. In a way, it darkly foreshadowed Rita Morgan's fate. As season 4 kicks off, Dexter and Rita have moved to the suburbs to raise their 3 children, Aster, Cody, and their newest chubby-cheeked, roly-poly shit machine baby, Harrison. As they watch the kids go off to school one morning, Rita embraces Dexter and says that they are living the dream.
How much are we living the dream?
So much.
For a woman with Rita's past, it's easy to see why she felt that way. Her previous marriage and the beginning of her relationship with Dexter was so psychologically damaging that she probably never believed that she could have something that, at least on its face, seemed so safe and perfect. Of course, she is not yet aware that her husband is a skilled liar, manipulator, and killer. As a result of Dexter's selfishness and murderous predilections, Rita would die by the finale of season 4, one of the most shocking and devastating reveals of the entire series. Dexter had spent most of that season tracking the Trinity Killer, but he delays the kill for so long that Trinity is able to find out his true identity, and unfortunately, eventually kill Rita and traumatizes their baby by leaving Harrison to sit in Rita's blood, alone and crying. Of course, Dexter killed Trinity before he found Rita, and that was the last we saw of Arthur Mitchell, until, of course, Dexter Resurrection dropped. In the very first episode, Trinity returns to Dexter in a dream he is having while he's in a coma. When Trinity comes to Dexter, he speaks with the same shortness and condescension he was once known for. He tells Dexter that it is his fault that Harrison is a disturbed kid, and he tells Dexter that Rita would still be alive if Dexter didn't think that he could have it all and live the dream.
If you hadn't thought that you could live the dream.
Aside from the fact that Rita told Dexter that in the very first episode of her final season on the show, that episode was also entitled Living the Dream. Trinity comes back as biting as ever, and his words seem very carefully selected during the brief time that Dexter hallucinates him. It is a small callback, but it's one that reminds us of the darkest time of Dexter's adult life and highlights how his life and Harrison's may have been different if Rita had made it out alive. But he has to kill, so how is he supposed to choose between reuniting with his son this season and feeding his own dark passenger? Dexter cannot have it all, and if his past is any indication of his future, reconnecting with Harrison after the near-fatal shot to the chest is likely to only bring more darkness and destruction to both of their lives. Dexter has always had the sneaking suspicion that he was meant to be alone, especially after he had to kill one of the only friends he'd ever known, Miguel Prado. Arthur wasn't the only popular character that returned. Following Dexter's hallucination of Trinity, his mind quickly conjures up the visage of his old friend Miguel Prado. Last we saw Miguel Prado, he had been dumped in a public park after being strangled to death by Dexter. Initially, Miguel seemed to be a great friend to Dexter. He wouldn't let Dexter put any distance between them, especially after he believed Dexter to have killed Freebo, a man Miguel believed had killed his youngest brother, Oscar. In reality, Dexter had killed Oscar in self-defense, but to tell the ADA that, friend or not, would be a death wish. It would also go against the first rule of the code, don't get caught. But with Miguel aware that Dexter killed Freebo, he found himself in a precarious situation. Dexter knew that there was no way he could keep Miguel at arm's length and protect his secret. So, rather than continue pushing Miguel away, Dexter took him up on his deal to be friends and began to see more as a student and partner in killing than as a liability. Before you watch any further, I'm happy to finally announce that I'm releasing the first limited drop of my t-shirts. At the start, there are only 100 available, so make sure you buy them while you can at dtmerch.store. Enjoy the video. Miguel offered Dexter some peace of mind in the form of mutually assured destruction. He offered Dexter a shirt from the night Freebo was killed that had blood on it, which he said could implicate him as an accessory after the fact at the very least. From there, Dexter loosened up a bit and began to teach Miguel parts of Harry's code. Knowing that he couldn't tell Miguel how he actually got rid of Freebo's body, Dexter chose instead to tell him a lie about burying the body in a vacant grave in a nearby cemetery.
Late at night, find an open grave to place his body in, and then to cover it up with a foot of dirt.
Miguel's power began to go to his head. He killed an innocent, Ellen Wolf, simply because she was an obstacle in the courtroom. After killing her, he got rid of the body the only way he knew how, by burying her in an empty grave that was soon to be used. Once Dexter learned that Miguel had killed Ellen, lied about the shirt having Freebo's blood, and was targeting Maria LaGuerta next, he knew that he had to take him out. That is how he found himself strangled to death in a public park. Given how he chose to dispose of his only innocent victim, Dexter imagining Miguel in a graveyard makes for a very well-placed Easter egg. It was during this hallucinated visit that Miguel spoke to Dexter about his own innocent victims. The names of people like Rita, Deborah, Maria were inscribed on headstones all around them. It was quite poetic for Miguel to be the one to speak to Dexter about how his lifestyle led to innocence as collateral damage, given that it was Miguel's targeting of innocence that led to Dexter to kill him.
When you killed other killers, future innocent victims were saved.
Could it be foreshadowing Dexter's fate by the end of Resurrection? It's possible. Only time will tell, but that isn't the only homage to the original series hidden in Resurrection. In the very first episode of the original series, the first kill Dexter performs is against a perverted church choir director who had been sexually assaulting young boys before killing and burying them. Dexter had apparently been stalking Father Donovan for a while, looking for the perfect time to get him. One night, as Donovan and his choir wrapped up a performance, Dexter waited in the backseat of his car to apprehend him. When his prey entered the car, Dexter swiftly lunged forward and placed a sharp wire across his neck, forcing Donovan to drive as instructed. Once they arrived at the intended destination, Dexter showed the disgraced father the bodies of his victims and explained to him why he had kidnapped him to avenge those boys. So it was quite the Easter egg to have one of the first kills in Dexter Resurrection be performed by a man labeled the Dark Passenger, who used a saw wire from the backseat of ride shares to control and kill his own victims. He also took the time to taunt his victims and explain in limited detail why he was going to kill them. The similarities between Dexter and the Dark Passenger of New York don't end there. With the sunglasses and the black hood, the Dark Passenger's getup was very reminiscent of the way Dexter imagined himself as the Dark Defender. Of course, their motives and modus operandi were very different, but they both also collected the blood of their victims as part of their trophies, and lived in bare-bones apartments that were incredibly tidy. Most uncannily, they even looked somewhat alike. It was interesting to see a Dark Passenger who was unconstrained by the code. It is a reminder of what Dexter may have turned into without Harry's guidance. Die-hard fans will probably have noticed most of these similarities with ease, especially the passenger's unique weapon of choice. It sticks out like a sore thumb because it's not typical for villains in the Dexter universe to use something like that to kill. But the callbacks to the other series in the franchise keep coming, like the Easter egg regarding Original Sin, and a false name that Dexter is clearly fond of using. Dexter fans had certainly been getting spoiled there for a while, with first the prequel, Dexter Original Sin, dropping in December of 2024, and then only 6 months later, Dexter Resurrection was released. Anyone who watched the entirety of the original series is now getting a much clearer picture of just how much Dexter's inclinations and mannerisms have remained consistent over the many years. For instance, Dexter has always been a very clean and orderly person. He has always had a massive appetite, and he's never been one for dancing, though he can be persuaded to dance if pressed or necessary to help him blend in. Another thing that he has clung to throughout his life was using aliases to get what he wants without being detected, and it would seem that one of his favorite names to use was Patrick Bateman. In Dexter Original Sin, we first see Dexter as he is getting pictures taken to commemorate his graduation from undergrad. When the photographer notices how awkward Dexter's smile is, he encourages Dex to think of something that makes him smile.
Think of something that makes you happy.
He thinks of the novel American Psycho. Later, in Original Sin, Dexter asks Masuka to help him get a fake ID with the name of the main character from the book, Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman?
In the original series, American Psycho is referenced a few times as well. Dexter uses the alias to order M99 undercover. He returns to this method of getting M99 in Resurrection. As he's returning to his new apartment, he receives the call from a veterinary clinic, and the caller identifies him as Dr. Bateman and confirms his order for etorphine, aka M99.
Hi, is this Dr. Bateman?
Patrick Bateman. American Psycho was a formative read when I was 19.
Some things never change, but others do. Like the person who was apparently captain of homicide when Dexter first joined the force. Dexter Resurrection ties in the plot of Original Sin in a flash. When Dexter joined Miami Metro at just 20 years old, the captain of homicide was a man named Aaron Spencer. Most people expected the captain to be Harry's old pal Thomas Matthews, per the original series. The retcon was upsetting to many fans who were waiting to see all of the original characters return in their younger form. Along with a younger Dexter, we got to see a younger Camilla, Masuka, Batista, Maria, Harry, Deb, even a younger Brian Moser, but no Captain Matthews. Of course, Aaron Spencer turned out to be the big bad of Original Sin. Dexter took him out, and that left a perfect opening for Matthews to enter as the new captain of homicide. Unfortunately for us, despite being renewed initially, the second season of Original Sin was recently panned, so there is no way to know when Matthews would have entered the timeline according to the prequel. Regardless, the legitimacy of Captain Aaron Spencer's legacy was made more firmly solidified in Resurrection when Detective Wallace is shown looking up information about the Bay Harbor Butcher, much like Chief Angela Bishop in New Blood, by the way. During her research, a news article about Captain Spencer's guilt and disappearance is shown, further solidifying his existence as canon in the Dexter universe. Most people are focused on Resurrection right now, but Original Sin was loved by many, and its cancellation disappointed a lot of fans. There were other references to Original Sin as well, like when Dexter is invited into Prater's vault and sees John Wayne Gacy's clown suit on full display. There is a quick flashback to when Dexter was imagining Gacy in Original Sin while he tried to figure out his own particular body disposal method. Dexter hasn't always been known as a reliable narrator. His memory is biased and spotty due to the trauma he faced as a child, but Resurrection referencing things from Original Sin indicates that not all of his memories were incorrect, and the references to the previous series don't stop. Another major reference is made in the final episode of Dexter Resurrection, right at the end. An homage to the finale of Season 4 is found in the season finale of Resurrection. In the final episode of Season 4, Dexter finally catches the Trinity Killer and takes him out. He outmaneuvers Trinity by removing the oil cap from his car before he can make a run for it. Trinity knew that his cover was blown after he found out Dexter works for the Miami Metro Homicide Department. He sees the whiteboard full of information about his kills as well. He knew then that he had to skip town. Trinity goes back to his family's home, steals everything of value, and also empties and closes all of his bank accounts. He leaves his car at a repair shop to be repainted and drives off with it before it's even dry. Dexter sent Astor and Cody to visit their grandparents in Orlando and tried to get Rita and Harrison on a flight to the Keys, all to ensure that Trinity couldn't get to any of them. For all of these reasons, with everyone from Arthur to Astor leaving town in a rush, the episode was titled The Getaway. Season 4's finale was one of the most lauded of the entire series. It was punctuated by the heavy blow of Rita's death. Paired with the conclusion of the Trinity arc, one of the most sinister foes Dexter has ever faced, and it's easy to see why Resurrection would want to include a nod to such a standout season in its already gripping finale. After Dexter gets Leon Prater on his table and takes him out, he steals his boat and uses it to dispose of Leon's body at sea. The keen eye would notice that Leon Prater's yacht is named The Getaway as well. Prater was perhaps the most treacherous villain since Trinity. He may even be worse, so tying them together in this way is made all the more interesting. Dexter Resurrection was full of nostalgic moments, hidden details, and Easter eggs that made it an amazing watch for newer and longtime fans alike. When season 2 comes out, it's almost certain that more Easter eggs will be littered throughout that installment as well, and everyone is waiting excitedly to see just how they come into play. Did you notice any Easter eggs we missed? Leave any hidden details that stood out to you in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe. And if you like this video, check out our breakdown of the biggest plot holes in Dexter Resurrection. Thanks for watching.